Hello, if you're watching this video, then you're in the Advanced Tech class, and you're going to be building a squirrel feeder today. One thing very important, we're going to be working in the shop, so make sure that you have your safety glasses with you. You can get those from the checkout station. Anytime you're operating anything in this shop or doing any kind of work in here, I want you to have safety glasses on. You'll be getting a set of plans for the kit that will show what all the pieces are and all their dimensions. Basically, the only other tool you're going to need is going to be a small hammer. You'll need carpenter's wood glue. You'll need 1.25 inch drywall wood screws. I believe these are a number 6. They're kind of a small screw. And you'll need 3 penny finishing nails. And you'll probably want a metric ruler. This one measures in centimeters or millimeters, and they're hanging on the wall in the materials and processes area. And you'll also want the 2 templates. There's the back template, and there's the floor template. Very difficult to proceed if you don't have access to those templates. And along with the templates, you'll need an 8 penny common nail, and those will be around and available. I'll show you what it's for later. Well, first of all, let's start by marking out our holes on the base. Here is our base, and this is made, your whole kit is made out of cedar, rough cedar. It's just simply boards from fence boards, and these are all cut to metric specifications. We're going to be doing this in metric. So this is exactly 13 millimeters wide and exactly 33 millimeters long, and this will be a metric project. First of all, get your template for the birdhouse floor, and we have some information here. It says drill 10 or 15 holes in the circled area to the left. Well, first of all, we're going to put this template down on top of the board for our floor, and this template should match the size of that floor piece perfectly. And then we're going to take the nail. This is the 8 penny common nail that I told you about, and there are some holes around the edges here. You don't have to hit those holes hard, just enough to mark them. We're using this nail kind of like what we call a transfer punch. And this nail is going to be transferring the locations for holes that we're going to drill in our project. You can see that I'm not hammering very hard at all. I want to be able to pull that nail out with my fingers. Now if we take a look, we can see that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 little dimples where we're going to drill our holes for our back and our sides. Also notice that note there says drill 10 or 15 drain holes in this circled area. So that would be right in this area. Right in this area. We're going to drill drain holes so that the peanuts that you put in the squirrel feeder don't get wet and soggy. The water will be able to drain through the bottom through those drain holes. Okay, next thing we're going to do is we're going to grab the piece for our back, and that would be this one. If you're confused as to which piece is which, just take a look at your plan. On your plan, it gives the dimensions, and you should be able to tell exactly which piece you need by measuring it out. This one is 13 centimeters wide, so if we look at it, yes, that's 13 centimeters wide, and the top is, it's 23 centimeters to the peak. There we are, 23, that's the one. And it also fits just right with the back template. All right, and first of all, we're going to draw the roof on there. Then we have several mounting holes. Again, we have a little tiny hole drilled for each one, and we'll take our 8-penny nail and mark our holes. And there's another hole right up here in the center. You're going to drill a hole there to mount your squirrel feeder to a fence or a tree or something. Notice there's also a little message written here. It says, write your name in pen or marker here or no credit. That would be, see, right there, right in that area. There's your peak. There are your holes, and you're going to write your name. So I'm going to write my name right now. And I said pen or marker because I don't want you to be able to erase it. And if you come around with a squirrel feeder that doesn't have your name inside it, you're not going to get credit. So make sure your name is in that area. Now we're going to go to the drill press and we're going to drill our holes. So let's head on over there. Here we are at the drill press. This is drill press number 1. And don't forget safety glasses because we're going to be operating a power tool. And we're going to take our base or our bottom, our floor. And we're going to turn on the drill press. Number 1 is all set to go with the correct size drill bit. And we're going to drill holes right where that nail left the little imprints. And then remember, 10 or 15 holes, drain holes in this area. You can drill them pretty much wherever you want. Just drill a lot of them. We don't want those poor squirrels to be eating peanuts and sunflower seeds and whatever else you throw in their feeder that are moldy. And if you drill a bunch of drain holes in this area, that'll lessen the chances of those poor little creatures getting bad food. And there we are. There we have all of our drain holes right through. Hopefully the water will drain down through there without rotting their food. Have our mounting for our screws around the edges. And then we're going to take and drill our 4 holes around the edges. There we go. We have our 4 holes around the edges, and then we're going to drill our single hole, our mounting hole, to mount it to a fence post or a wall or a tree. There we go. Now we're going to cut the roof. So let's head on over to the bandsaw, and I'll meet you there. Here we are over by the bandsaws, and right here is the timer switch on the wall for our dust collection system. And for this little job, I'm going to say maybe 5 minutes at the most. So let's set this for 5 minutes. And our dust collection system will come on. Then over here, don't forget to open up your little yellow gate. Right there, open up the little yellow gate so that it sucks the dust out of the bottom of your bandsaw. Now we're gonna cut this piece right here. Notice that the blade guide is quite a bit higher than what we need, and that way our fingers could run in and hit that saw blade, which we wouldn't want to have happen. So reach back here, loosen the triangle nut, bring the blade guide down enough so this will still pass underneath, and then tighten the triangle nut. That way if we're pushing, we'll hit the blade guide before we hit the blade. Okay, we'll reach over and we'll turn this on, and I'm going to cut, fairly close to that line. There we go. I cut about a millimeter away from the line, maybe a little tiny bit less. There, I almost went right up to the line there. Won't take much cleanup on the belt sander at all. So now we're going to go over to the belt sander and we're going to clean up the ends of that and make sure that we come right up and hit the line. Here we are at the belt sander. Don't forget, you got to have your dust collection system running. Right now for the video, I'm not going to run the dust collection system because it's 2 feet away from me right here and it'll drown out everything that I try to say. But turn on the dust collection system and then make sure that you closed the yellow gate where you last worked, because that anywhere you have yellow gates open, that'll drop the pressure in the system. So you close the yellow gate back at the bandsaw, then you come over here and open your yellow gate for the belt sander, reach back here, turn on the belt sander, and we're going to hold this I'm going to support it like that so it doesn't want to go down, and I'm going to bring it in carefully. There, I went in just until I touched the line. In fact, if you were really close here, you could still see bits and pieces of the line still left there. Now I'm going to take this part, and there we go. Went right up to the line. We've got a 45 here, we've got a 45 here. That's a 90 degree there, which is not normally the type of peak you'd have on a house, but for a squirrel feeder, 90 degrees is fine. Here we are back at the workbench, and here we have the squirrel feeder back, all drilled and shaped, and we've got our floor all drilled, ready to go, and we're going to grab our drywall screws, and we're going to grab our cordless drill with the screw tip on it, and we're going to take this over to the vise. Don't forget about the vices, just a quick word about the vices. If you unscrew like that, you can open up the vise like that and close the vise like that. So unscrew it a little bit and clamp down to hold your squirrel feeder back in place. Name is out, and then we're going to take the floor piece right here, and the bottom and the top are basically the same. I wouldn't worry about if one looks better than the other. Go ahead and stick it one way or whatever. The other way might look better. Doesn't really matter that much. I guess I'll go this way. All right, now I'm going to get it flush on the back, like so. Flush on the sides. Flush means they're sitting at the same level. Name in there. And then let's take a 1.25 inch number 6 drywall screw. And this is not going to take much to put that screw in. Don't overdo it. You'll actually be able to go right through. Notice that's the direction right there. You'll be able to go right through this piece if you go too hard. There we go. It didn't take much at all. Don't go overboard with the cordless drill. And here's another hole. Flush, flush. And again, just until it kind of comes flat on there. And we've got 3 holes there. There we go. And there's our back and our floor all set to go, ready for the other parts to go on. Next piece we're going to take 2 pieces right here, and you need to do this the way it is on the drawing. Let's take a look here, and if we can zoom in on that drawing. See how the pieces are? Notice that we have right here the dark lines. Zoom in so we can see those dark lines, those heavy lines. Those are the slots for the little window in the front where you can see if your squirrel feeder is empty or full by looking through that little window. Those slots right there correspond to these slots right here. But these are not in the right configuration. We need to put them like this. There we go. Just like the drawing. See, the drawing slots are toward each other. On the drawing, slots are toward each other. And then these are already cut to 10 centimeters in height, but they're gonna angle downhill. So what we need to do is we need to mark 7.5 centimeters up, 7.5 centimeters up, make a line, and I'm going to do that right now. And it's very important that you do this the way it appears on the drawing, because if you do it any other way, you're going to end up with 2 left pieces or 2 right pieces. If we do it the way it's shown in the technical drawing, you'll end up with a left and a right.
That's good. That far enough. Pretty close. Do one or two more. Okay, that's probably good. Same thing on that. Good. Thanks, Pete.
Okay, now I'm going to mark 7.5 centimeters right there. Okay, and I'm going to mark another 7.5 centimeters. I'll flip it over. 7.5. Flip it so you can see it here. Right there. Okay. Then I'm going to draw a line from my 7.5 up to my corner at the full height. I'll show you here in a second. Let me draw the line first, and then I'll hold it up and show you. There we go. We have a line like that. And then let's draw the other line from our 7.5 mark. Like so. If you do it any other way than that, you might end up accidentally with 2 rights or 2 lefts. But if you have them facing each other with the slots facing you and angling down toward the center, you will have a left and a right. Okay, now I'm going to go over to the bandsaw and the drill press and cut this. This is basically pretty much like cutting the roof. So I'm going to go over there and do that, and I'll be back in a couple minutes. There we are. We have 2 matching pieces. One thing I did on the belt sander is I held them carefully together, lined them all up all the way around, and then I hit them both on the belt sander at the same time, which gave me 2 pieces that are more matched to each other. And notice we have a, let's see, that would be the left that you're looking at, and that would be the right. And the slots right there are facing each other. We don't have the slots, we don't have one slot on the inside and one slot on the outside, because we do have a left and a right piece. Now we're going to take over here, we're going to come over here, to the vise again. Let's put our squirrel feeder in there and clamp it. And take one of your pieces and put it in there. Oh, that works out just right because the vise is giving us a little pressure there. That works nicely. Okay, I'm holding this in tight, and let me grab my screws again. Put one screw right in there, another screw right in there, and I'm holding this, holding everything so it's nice and flush. And let's, again, it doesn't take a whole lot to put that piece in. Okay. And then let's take the other side and put that over here. I'm going to try to do this so that I don't step in front of my work too much and ruin your view. Okay, we got that in there flush. Double check. Here we go. And get it flush. Here we go. Now let's take the squirrel feeder out of here. There we go. So far, notice our slots are facing inward, but we haven't connected the back. So let's grip the floor in the vise. One thing I didn't mention earlier was that we're making this out of cedar, and the reason we're making this out of cedar is that cedar is able to resist rot better than other woods. It holds up better in the outdoors. Other woods would be falling apart after a couple of years in the outdoors, but cedar will hold up much longer. If you want to, you can glue these joints. I don't know how much good gluing the joints is going to do for you, because this is going to be outdoors, and the only glue that we have handy to us is water-soluble glue. And if you glue your joints and leave this outdoors for a couple of years, your joints are just going to, delaminate anyway. So we have to make sure to use lots of screws to hold this together, because glue isn't going to do us much good in the great outdoors. Okay, we should have something like this. Next thing, let's do we have some rails here. And I'm going to go over to the drill press, and I'm going to put a set of holes in here. And my holes will not line up. I'm going to put 4 holes in each one, but I'm not going to put them all in a straight line. And the reason is, if you put 4 holes in a straight line on a little piece of wood like this and then run screws into it, that wood is going to break apart immediately. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my holes, stagger my holes so they're in different positions. And then I'll be right back in a couple minutes. Here we go. We have each of the little rails. The rails are going to go on the bottom. They're going to strengthen up the squirrel feeder from the bottom. And notice that the holes do not line up. Even, in fact, I was careful to make sure this one did not line up with this one. This one's a little bit in, this one's a little bit out, so that of the 4 holes, I don't think I have more than 2 lining up. And that will prevent things from splitting apart when you start putting screws into it. Let's take the squirrel feeder again and put it in the vise, gripping on the back, the peaked back. And then we're going to put these little rails down here. And Just line those rails up so they're flush on the back and the sides. And go ahead. Don't run it in too hard. These screws, as I said earlier, they'll go right through. So just go down until the screw head is flush. The other thing that happens is that these screws are just the right length. These two pieces are exactly 1.25 inches. I think they're 5/8. So the two together are exactly 1.25 inches. If you run that screw too deep, that point will poke out the other side, and that poor squirrel is going to get his toes caught on that sharp point. You could put your finger underneath here and just feel to see when that screw comes through. This screw is lined up with this, so it won't go through. And then let's take the other one. Also, one thing I'm doing here that I haven't mentioned yet, but I am trying to do it, and that is I have some surfaces that have been run through my table saw which are kind of smooth, and I have other surfaces that are rough. They have that rough cedar look. I'm trying to put the rough cedar look toward the outside to make this whole thing look like a rough cedar finished project. And again, don't go crazy on the torque on this screw gun. There will be probably about 3 screw guns here at the table, so there shouldn't be too much of a waiting line. There we go. All the heads are nice and flush all the way around. I didn't ram them through. All right, now we're going to put our little tiny fake roof on, and that would be these two little pieces. One is 3 centimeters by 11, the other one's 3 by 13. So the 3 by 13 is going to overlap the 3 by 11. It's not going to be, look at that's wrong. That's really wrong. Take a look. That is majorly wrong. We have to have the 13 overlap the 11 centimeter like that. Then it's correct. Okay, we're going to put, this is going to get nailed together, and just 2 3-penny finishing nails. Finishing nails, by the way, are the type of nails that have no head on them. They have just a tiny dimple type head on them. And get this flush right there. Again, if you wanted to go ahead and put glue on these joints, I don't know how much good glue is going to do out in the elements. I'm not worried about glue here. I have a couple of these bird feeders at home, and I have to take them every couple years and put a couple new screws in. Just kind of beef them up a little bit. Two nails on each side should do the trick here. There we go. This is mostly a metric project. Of course, we're kind of locked in to buying nails and screws that have been made to inch standards. I could give you the metric equivalent of these nails, but then if I gave you the metric equivalent to the nails, you'd have a hard time going in and ordering them. Nails are always ordered according to pennyweight, which is an old British term. There we go. We're getting pretty close to being done. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to put the top on here. This is the top that's going to open up that you can fill the squirrel feeder with. And so I have to go get the hinge, and I'll be right back. when you get your squirrel feeder to this stage, you'll go get your brass hinge from your teacher and 6 little screws to go with it, and you'll notice that these screws are the plus type or the Phillips type end on them, so you'll need a Phillips screwdriver off the wall, and we'll need an awl to punch our little holes for the screws. This cover, I cut all the covers. I cut all these other pieces to exactly 13 centimeters. However, the cover, I left it at the regular American size because if I noticed that if I did that, it would give me a couple millimeters of overhang on the sides, which would prevent food on the inside from getting wet. So I just left it full length here. So kind of position it. There we go. And then position your hinge right below your mounting hole. Right there. There's your mounting hole. There's the center hole of the hinge. Line it up. It's a little bit to one side. There we go. And then poke it with the awl to help you get your screw started. And then take one of your little tiny brass screws and this cedar is pretty soft. It is classified as a softwood. Softwoods are trees that have needles. Cedar doesn't have actual needles, but they are green all through the winter. But cedar is classified as a softwood. And of course hardwoods are trees that have leaves that lose them in the winter, and that would be oak and maple and such. And we'll put these screws in here. And after I get all 6 of these screws in, we're going to go over to the finishing table and we're going to apply a finish. So, see you over at the finishing table. All right, here's our squirrel feeder, all ready to put on our finish. Notice the door. If your door seems a little bit tight, you may want to talk to me, and we can work this. I worked the bottom a little bit over on the belt sander, and I got it so that it would flip more easily. We'll also put some oil on the hinge later, which will make it flip better too. One thing that happens with these squirrel feeders is if they stick up like that, then the Stellar's jays will come and they'll empty out your whole squirrel feeder in about 15 minutes. And believe me, the Stellar's jays can do that. So we're all ready to put our finish on. One thing I want to say about the finish, this finish is deck stain. This particular stuff is Sunfrog deck stain. And I would not recommend putting any of this finish in the food compartment area. We're going to put this finish only on the outer surfaces. We're going to make sure not to get any finish inside the food compartment area. Do not put finish in here. I'm sure that finish, I'm sure the squirrels would not appreciate the flavor that finish might add to their peanuts and such. All right, I'm going to put on a plastic glove here so that I can hold. Actually, I'm going to put it on the other hand. I want it on the left. I'll paint with the right and I'll hold the bench. And our final step for our squirrel feeder, after you've applied the finish and let it dry for a day, keep it in your locker and it should be plenty dry the next day. Then you'll get your piece of plexiglass for that little window in the front. And of course your plexiglass has some brown masking on it, and you'll have to peel that brown masking off. Your plexiglass should be cut to the right size. It's good to have it fit tight, because believe me, those squirrels, when they find out that their nut box is empty, they will stop at nothing to make trouble for you. And this one thing that they do for me all the time is they pull out the little windows on my squirrel feeders, and they toss them somewhere, and I have to find them every morning. And I think they take great delight in this. Now here's our little plexiglass window. We have the masking all peeled off it. Lift up the door and slide your little window into the slots. Tight is better, because if it fits too loosely, I guarantee you those squirrels will figure out how to pull that little window out and toss it somewhere, and you'll have a hard time finding it every day. Anyway, there's our finished squirrel feeder, and the squirrels will jump up on here. It'll take them 10 minutes to figure out to open that up. And in the mornings, when you fill this thing and have your breakfast, you'll hear this noise, this constant plunk. Every time they get a peanut out, you'll hear that, and you'll know that they're raiding your squirrel feeder. And if your squirrels are anything like the squirrels I have at my house, you'll enjoy watching them every morning while you have your breakfast.